Alright, we're going to make a video here about using an oscilloscope for checking speed controls to be sure that they're in zero timing mode. First, we're going to go over a couple of basics here and talk about the probes and the adapter to be able to pick up the sensor lead. We're using a standard oscilloscope probe. Down here it has a slide switch with 1x on this end and 10x on this end. We make sure the slide switch is on 10x. We're going to be using a spring-loaded probe which fits over the end. And we'll do that for two probes, channel 1 and channel 2. Now I use channel 2 as the trigger channel. I hook the blue color-coded probe up there, and then on this adapter we hook that probe over here on this side to an A pole and a ground. The alligator clip is ground, and the spring-loaded probe is connected to the A terminal. It doesn't really matter whether you use A, B, or C, as long as you check the same tab on the motor as you're connected to here on the sensor cable adapter. You see at the top there's a female receptacle that's labeled motor and one that's labeled ESC. What we're going to do is splice this adapter into the sensor line from the speed control to the motor, and in some cases it'll be easier to disconnect the sensor wire from the car's speed control, in which case this will plug into a sensor line that goes from the ESC to the speed control. In other cases it'll be easier to go to the motor, in which case you'll connect the motor to this side. In either case you're going to complete the circuit. So if you take the sensor wire from the car out of the speed control, you'll plug it into the motor side because it'll still be connected to the motor, and then you'll use an additional sensor cable like this to plug into the ESC side and connect this to the ESC. We'll show that later when we actually do some testing. Right now we're just kind of going over the basics. Just to make it a little more robust, I've taken some electrical tape and taped the alligator clip and spring-loaded probe for picking up the sensor signal together, just to make it a little sturdier. You're going to have the other probe that you're going to connect to the motor tab has a ground wire on it, and it'll connect to this other ground post here so that it's properly grounded in the same ground circuit as the sensor. So what we're really going to do here is we're going to try to read a signal on this screen from when the Hall effect sensor in the motor sends a signal back to the speed control. And that'll be your trigger or your blue circuit, and then there'll be a second trace on here which is going to show the speed control's power output to the motor, and that should always come in time after the Hall effect sensor signals the speed control. We'll talk about that more when we actually look at the curves. I'm going to take a little break now and set some other things up before continuing.